Good morning, friends. Hey, 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 hey. Today we're talking about decluttering your debt. Apologies for being a little late. Y'all, I got in here and I was talking to y'all, but I realized I never pressed the go live button, so I have been talking to myself. I've been talking to myself for a solid 4 minutes. I was already late to begin with, and I think that's why I didn't notice what was going on. I was already late, and then I started talking to myself because I did not press the go live button. Good morning, everybody. Decluttering your debt. I have a really important reason I want to talk about this, which is basically I want y'all to be in good shape when you move abroad financially. And so we're going to talk about this today. Apologies again for being late. I went in my bedroom to get find the right earrings for the look. And then it was 20 minutes later. I entered an earring wormhole, and it was 20 minutes later, and I was supposed to be live. So apologies. Hey to all the members of my community who are here, my YouTube community who are here right now. I see Monica, Sarah, Janice, Jade, Glass Half Full, Amina, Dara, Abba, Igami, Teresa. This week in my YouTube community, we started doing accountability calls. So the second Tuesday-ish, it's probably gonna change. Y'all know me. We'll switch it up a bit. But for right now, the second Tuesday of every month is when we get together and talk about what we are working on to be accountable. And a couple of us are working on decluttering physical objects. But I think that before you make your plan to move abroad, it's also important to declutter some of your debt, right? Declutter and work through your finances in a way that when you move abroad, you have a plan that does not involve you trying to hustle people outside of Starbucks at 8 a.m. Hold up, I got a story. I has a story. This morning I go for a walk. I'm looking a little, not crazy, but I'm not out here trying to match when I go walking. So my hair is tied up in a scarf. I tried a flat twist out on my newly cut hair. This is day 2 of it being twisted out. I think I like it. It's not going to last that long because it's had much more definition in the beginning than it does. I hate backwards cameras. I can't tell which way I'm supposed to be doing stuff. This way. Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's probably, I did the flat twist out. Really liked it. This is day 2 of it being out. It's not going to have that much definition. So I think I can't do it that often, but I like hair. This is a story which starts with a segue. I like hair that has a shelf life before the style begins, right? I want to do my hair on a Sunday and then not have it in a way that it's not changing every day, right? So in flat twist, I can keep it in flat twist for a couple days until I feel like a twist out, right? And so my hair is just twisted in a scarf at home, and it's no big deal. But once you do the twist out, you only have so long before you got to do it again. And when I do my hair in the wash and go, it's the same thing, which I've been doing recently. After that first day, it's just bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until we get back to having to wash it again. So I think this might be my style for a while. I don't know. I got coffee this morning at 8 a.m. What do they write? Roshida. Close? We're getting closer. You know who got my name right at Starbucks? Marrakesh. Them countries, they were like, oh, we know that name. They got it right. Everywhere else, no. In Marrakesh, they were like, oh, yeah, you one of us. Here we go. Let me tell you the story of every day about one of, but also not one of, because every time I said my name, people were like, oh, that's a Muslim name. And I'm like, they're Black Muslims. You live in Africa where there are countries full of Black Muslims. There are Black Muslims around the world. Why every time, and I'm not one, but why every time I say my name, do you act absolutely shocked and appalled that I could possibly be my name? Why? What is it? Anyway, sidebar. I'm at Starbucks this morning after I walked, looking a little, round the way-ish. And a man walks up to me. Pause. It's not going to be one of those stories. it's related to why we're decluttering our debt. The segue fits. The man walks up to me and says, "Do you understand English?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, most days, sure. Okay, let me try this. Needs a little sugar. I have a new sugar bowl from Fez." All right. So the man says, I'm clearly running behind, so I'm putting sugar in my coffee on camera. Do you understand English? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. He's like, okay, thank God, because no one here understands me. Why are you in a country where no one understands you, to begin with? This is a man who appears to be American. He's about, okay, the sugar in the bowl is rock hard, and I put it in this week, and it was not rock hard when I put it in. Ooh. Okay. Appears to be about 45, but you know how different people age differently? He's under me 45, right? Looks a little bit like a rough, somewhere between 35. His potato salad has been left in the sun. Let's say that. I don't know how old this man is, but he's old enough. Oh my God, thank you. No one understands me. I was like, okay. He's like, okay, so a taxi stole my bag. Oh, we started with, I was like, oh, it's sob story time. Okay, you want to know if I understand you? Because I thought he was going to ask for directions or something, right? And I was like, yeah, I speak English. I can, you know what I mean? Like, I'll help you get somewhere. It's sob story. Taxi. He started with taxi stole your bag. And immediately in my mind, I was like, nah, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. Possibly, I've been in plenty of taxis and ride shares, and no one's ever tried to drive off with my stuff in Mexico. But my experience isn't always going to be your experience. So yeah, maybe that happened. Maybe I'm wrong, and that did happen to you. A taxi tried to take off all your stuff. Okay. So I'm like, okay. He's like, and then the police tried to rob me. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. I walk past the police every single day. They go out of their way to not interact with me. Out of their way. They're not trying to, what's this conversation? No. Now I'm like, hey, because I need you to know when I need help that I'm a familiar face. I've been walking past y'all every day for years. Every day I passed by at roll call and it was like 100 of them outside. And I was like, hi. Buenos dias. Like, I'm out here. Give it, because you don't know this face. Okay, Mr. Man, I'm not saying it never happens, but the taxi stole your stuff and then the police tried to rob you. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just skeptical. And then this man says, and I need $20. Okay, first, dollars? You in Mexico, where we use pesos, asking for dollars. So I'm assuming it was $20 or the equivalent. I'm assuming the equivalent would have been okay. I need $20 to get to the airport. Beloveds, from where we were standing, I can get to the airport for the equivalent of 25 cents. Maybe if I'm like treating myself and being real, like on a budget, but as little walking as possible, I can do it for 50 cents, for less than 50 cents. 50 cents. I can do this. Under $1. Why do you need $20 to go to the airport? Why? If I can, from where we're standing, I can get there for under $1. Why do you need $20 to get to the airport? Why are you out here, Mr. Potato Salad? Why are you out here begging for money? And not even begging, because begging, I would have respected that more. But you trying to scam me? You trying to treat me like a new girl on the block? And how I knew, even if I wasn't sure it was a scam, when I said I don't have any cash, I was like, sorry, I don't have any cash. He's like, I'm sorry too. And then he proceeded to cuss me out, I think. But I put the headphones back in. He started this by touching me. I forgot to tell y'all. He started this by reaching out and like grabbing my arm. And I snatched it real quick. Like, there's absolutely no do you understand English that involves you touching me. There's none of this, of whatever this conversation is, involves you touching me. As a man, I don't normally say as a man, but as a man, the reason you don't have any money is that your bag was stolen. You don't have no money in none of your pockets, your wallet, nothing. The reason you don't have any money is because your bag was stolen. And then the police, you didn't say they robbed you. You said they tried to rob you. You're out here lying to me. You're out here lying to me and think I'm going to give you money for you to lie to me. And then when I was like, I don't have cash, his first response was, really? And I was like, no, I have a Starbucks card on my phone, right? Like, I don't have cash. What are you talking about? You walk away cussing me out. Now, I'm the kind of person where if you're saying negative things about me, as the proximity between us is increased, as the distance between us is increasing, I don't care. Or you're cussing me out in another language, I don't care. If you want to be in my face cussing, that's a different story. But you're walking around, he said something like, oh, I'll see you tomorrow. And I was like, actually, you won't, because I'm not going to be in town. But whenever you're ready, okay, right? Like, what? You're cussing me out for not having cash for you to scam me out of? Okay, like, fine. And I wish I could say this is an isolated incident, but more than I see people in expat groups who come to countries and are flat out on their luck, are just like, I don't have money for food. I don't have anywhere to stay. And sometimes people give it to them. I know someone in the Mexico City group gave someone money, and then immediately afterwards they were like, oh, I got scammed. That man it was a black man at that time. I got scammed. Immediately afterwards they were like, oh wait, that's a scam. You out here 8 a.m. trying to hustle me. Like I'm new. The taxi took your bag, and that's why you don't have any gift. Did they? And the police try to rob you. And it takes $20 to get to the airport. It takes $20 to get to the airport in an Uber. But that's not going to help. You don't need cash for that. Right? Maybe in a Didi. But you ain't got nothing. And I am supposed to be your sugar mama. If the man had said, I'm hungry, can I get a croissant? I'd have been like, for him, I probably would have said no. No. Who? You in another country begging? This is what I was like. You just said you were going to the airport. You need $20 to get to the airport, and now you're talking about I'll see you tomorrow. But like it was supposed to sound threatening, but I was like, okay. I'm the black girl in the neighborhood. Like, if you want to see me, you can see me. But what happens when you see me tomorrow that you're not doing today? What about tomorrow that you're not doing today? You think I'm gonna have cash tomorrow? What's different? Okay, I always say pull up because I don't like, if you try to intimidate me, I'm gonna let you know you can't intimidate me. You're gonna have to stab me, right? Like you're going to have to do something because you're not gonna intimidate me out of my own money. Out of my money? Okay, let's talk about our own money and why this is important. It's important because, like I said, I talked to someone the other day who was in Mexico City last year for the Nomad Capitalist conference. And they were talking about something. It was a black woman, a former client. someone we're friends. And nomad capitalists, if you guys aren't familiar, their audience is basically people who can who are interested in buying a second passport. I'm not sure everyone in the audience. I don't think everyone in the audience can buy a second passport in one of these countries, but they cater to that audience. You know how everybody thinks they're closer to being like super wealthy than they are to being like super poor? There's some people in that audience who I think are wealthy, and then some people who are who think they're wealthy adjacent. And they might be. I don't know. I can't see your finances. I don't know what's going on. But she was here for the Nomad Capitalist Conference last year. We were talking about something, and she was like, wait a minute. Not poor people. She was like, I thought only rich people moved abroad. I thought you had to be like really wealthy to move abroad. I thought only rich people moved abroad. And I was like, I need you to be online more. But like if you're thinking about moving abroad, I need you to be in more of these online spaces, because a lot of people who move abroad, some of the reasons people move to different countries is because it's more affordable and their money isn't cutting it in America. And so they move to countries where their money can cut it. But their financial plan frequently isn't solid enough to prevent situations like now you got to cuss out the only English-speaking person outside of a Starbucks because she wouldn't give you $20 to go do whatever you wanted to do with $20. Look at Mama watching. She's on a bus now, I think, heading somewhere fabulous. In another country, begging happens all the time. Yes. I don't want that to happen to you. And there's a big difference between I have debt and I'm begging. I'm not saying that if you have that, you're going to end up begging. I'm saying that if you don't have a solid financial plan, it's really easy. Most of us are one medical emergency away from being outside Starbucks, who can buy me a croissant? Right? Generally, unless you own a yacht, right? Unless you're here's my brownstone in, outside of Central Park and blah, blah. You're probably real close. And none of it there's no debt anywhere. You're probably closer to being on the street than you are to being a billionaire. Okay. So I want y'all begging. Let's talk about decluttering. I have a list. Mute my phone. Mute my computer. All right. Okay, so I decided a while ago, last October, when I created my other YouTube channel, which I was going to link here, but I forgot because my life has been lifing, y'all. My life has been lifing. So let me drop it in the chat. I said I was going to talk about money on my other channel and not on this channel anymore. And so this morning when I was like, I want to talk about this, I was like, I should talk about it on the other channel because it's a money conversation. But y'all not over there yet. Why not? Why aren't you over there? I'm dropping the link now so you can go subscribe. Go subscribe. We're going to talk about money there. We talk about side hustling and other ways to make money. Since we're talking about that, I was like, I'm going to do it here because I need them to hear it. I need them to hear this. So we're talking about math here. We're talking about money here today. Although I normally talk about it on the other channel, Roshida Dowe. A lot of people hit me up and were like, someone is stealing your content and made another channel. And I'm like, no, that's me. That's original content over there. Subscribe. Roshida Dowe. Okay. Let's talk about paying off your debt and decluttering your debt. When I think about decluttering, one of the reasons I think about debt is it feels like an anchor to a lot of us, right? Debt feels like an anchor, and a lot of times it feels like it can be all over the place. All over the place. You know what I mean? Like your money feels kind of scattered. So what is the first thing I'm going to tell you how to do? One of you knows, when we're talking about debts, I always say this in relationship to everything. So what am I going to tell you to do? What's step number one? What's step number one? What is step number one? Someone write it in the comments. You know what I'm going to say because y'all know me. What am I going to say about debt? What is the first thing you should be doing? All right now. Igami is so close. She's the first one. She's so close. And Aileen knows. Do the math. Do the math. I'm going to get like do the math tattooed on my neck. Maybe I'll put it back on the side instead. Back on that side instead of a neck tattoo. Do the math. I tell y'all all the time. Do the math. Please, talk to your girl. Talk to your girl. All right, so we're doing the math first. How much do you owe? What are the interest rates? So as part of the do the math, raise your hand if you don't know, or drop a comment in the chat, whether you know exactly how much debt you owe, or you don't know, you're unsure. So like, I know, or I'm not sure in the chat. I know, or I'm not sure. Come on. While we're doing that, D from Brown Girls Trade 2 had a great comment, which is 40% of Americans can't overcome a $400 emergency. And there's no shame in that, right? Like, that's not because you're like, oh, you know what? I'd like to be a person who's bad with money. I'd like to be a person who works really hard and does not get paid enough for basic survival, right? No, that's not what happens. Like, we live in a terrible society. If you live in America, you live in a terrible society that is not set up for your individual financial success. Because if you were individually financially successful, why would you spend all day working to make another person richer? Which is the society we live in. Most of our days are spent making rich people richer. And if you did not have to work a job and a half or two to make your basic needs, it wouldn't be so easy to manipulate you into doing terrible jobs to make other rich people richer, right? Like, they don't have them 8, 10, 13-year-olds in them chicken factories and fast food places, whatever, in the middle of the night working because that's their way to richness, right? That's not it. That's not it. They live in a society where they have to do that for their family to eat. That's not a you thing. You didn't do this. You didn't create this structure. So being $400 of what, not being able to handle a $400 emergency is not a you thing. It is the structure of a society we live in. But do you know how much debt you have? I'm seeing a lot of I knows. Alba has lifestyle creep happening. See, this also happens when you move abroad. Alba has lifestyle creep happening. This is one of the things that happens when we move abroad. Also, the exchange rate between the US dollar and the peso is really favoring the peso right now. So everything we buy is more expensive, even if there was no inflation. There is, but even if there was none and the prices weren't going up, they are. Everything would still be more expensive, just dollar to peso. So we're spending more money than we were spending last year. Coffee, expensive. So no, sir, I don't have $20 for you to get to the airport. When it costs me $20 to get to the airport, I'm like, why isn't it 12? Why isn't it 15? Why y'all playing these games? Why isn't it used to be 10? And I have the money. That's my money. You want $20 from me to go to the airport? That's 25 cents away. You got to hustle somebody else, sir. All right, Celeste is not sure. I'm seeing a lot of I knows. Jade is not sure. DT is not sure anymore. Stephanie knows, but she's not ignoring it. She's not ignoring it. We're not doing that. Stephanie knows. Lots of I knows. Great job, guys. Okay, so if you know how much debt you have, do you know what each individual debt is and what the outstanding amount is and what the correlating interest rate is for that debt? Do you know what your interest rates are for each debt? Elle saying how much she owes on her credit card. When I was with my mom, we were traveling. I showed her a line item on my credit card statement. And she was like, yeah, mine's looking like that too. And I was like, your entire credit card statement looks like this. This is for one of the 3 Airbnbs I booked in the past 2 days. This is one line item on my credit card. Woo! I looked at those bills on Friday, right before our meeting with Stephanie, and I was like, what? Her immediate response was, treat yourself. And I was like, yeah, I went to London and it's not cheap. And so I had to pay. But baby, every time I try to pay my credit card debt off every month, but there's some months where I look at it and I'm like, who was doing this? Who was using I'll be like, no, there must be something fraudulent here. And I'm looking for the fraud. I can't find a fraud. I can find the bad decisions. I'm looking at my statement and I can find the bad decisions. I can't find the fraud. Where is the fraud? It's nowhere to be seen. The fraud ain't here. It's just me making choices that did not serve me in the moment. And I'm a big treat yourself girl, right? You know that, right? But like, now I got to pay it. Now I got to pay it. Okay. Alluring Mo says your Discover card rate is really high. Oh wait, that's not what I meant to do. Yes. Okay. So do you know what your different interest rates are? Try 123 has no idea. Aileen says iffy on interest rate outside of my mortgage. Steph says approximately. Nicole has it all on a spreadsheet. Okay, so that's next step for y'all. A spreadsheet, a document, a paper, something written down. So, I like knowing all the money outstanding as of one date. And then I'll update. If I do this, I'll try to update it at least quarterly or monthly or weekly if it feels like a pressing issue. How much you owe, what the interest rate is, what the payment date is. I still have, I put all my payment dates on my calendar. Y'all not gonna catch me with late fee. And I have everything set up. Every credit card that has I can do an automatic payment with, like a minimum, pay the minimum amount automatically. I do it. I have one Amex. They're not doing no minimum payment, nothing. They want all their money all the time. It didn't dawn on me because I paid regularly, right? So I had this card for like 5 years and it didn't dawn on me that that's what was happening. That like every month they went in there and took everything out because I actively pay it. One month I didn't pay it. I didn't do that. And I was like, thousands of dollars? Like, what are we? I immediately hit Adelia like, Adelia. Amex she was like, oh girl, that's too bad. That's unfortunate. I said, what happened? Yeah, so I know when my money is due. But because I pay in advance a lot, I try to pay my things every Friday. Or at least every payday, I go in and I'm like, every time, this is me now, not me when I had significant amounts of debt in other places. Every Friday I go in and I try to pay off everything I owe. Because it's only credit cards. It's all the only money I owe. And I pay them off every month. Everything I owe, I try to pay off. Not every Friday, but every time. I pay myself every 2 weeks from a business account. So every 2 weeks when I do that, I try to pay off all my accounts. And like this Friday, because of all the traveling I did and all the spending I did in April and May, my paycheck did not cover the credit card debt. So I had to send myself some extra money. Girl. Woo! Okay. So the interest rates, know it all. Yes, girl, bad decisions. Bad decision, Jonna. I was like, why my mama wasn't paying for this stuff? Why she ain't pay for these Airbnbs? Why no fraud. Okay. I know because I did the math of all my APR. Yes, Anita. Sibon Gile tried to do a spreadsheet once. I couldn't keep up. I'm an English major after all. Okay, so I don't have a debt spreadsheet anymore because the only debt I have is on one of 3 credit cards. And like I said, I go in there regularly, zero it out. I feel good. What I do have, and this is a bit of a segue. Y'all know how we're going to weave through. If you're watching me for the first time, hi, my name is Roshida Dowe. I'm a career break coach. I help women move abroad and take career breaks. And we talk about money here. And it's 30 minutes into it. So welcome. Hey. Okay, so I have a net worth, not net worth. I don't like that. I have like a money goal tracker. So this year I made myself a tracker of the amount of money I want to be in each account. And each month I write in how much money is in the account. Beginning of every month, I'm like, oh, it's the first, usually first through the fourth. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to update the tracker. And I update it. And I'm like, how's my money doing? Right? Like, do I have, what's going on? Just so that I'm on top of it. Otherwise, like, I've gone like 6 to 8 months without checking like my investment accounts. Because I really didn't want to know what they were doing. But then you don't know what your money's doing. So I've started doing that. So every month I just get in, I update the spreadsheet, how to do compared to the next year. There's no judgment involved with it. It's just where am I? Right? Like, okay. There's no judgment. It's just a factual, this is where I am with my like where the money is tracker. But when I had debt, I had a debt tracker because you need it. So write down your debt name. For those of you who don't have a tracker yet, this is what I want you to write down. The debt name, the type of debt, is it a credit card, a student loan, etc. The balance, the interest rate. What are the payment terms? So if it's your mortgage, you have an idea of how long you're going to be paying it, right? Or is it revolving like a credit card? And what's the minimum monthly payment? I'm telling you, nothing. Oh, yay. Janae likes our money goal tracker idea. Yes. I started the year saying there's absolutely no way, not even no way, but like, how am I going to make this go? How? And at this point, I'm $7,000 away. At the beginning of, this is June, beginning of June, I'm $7,000 away from my goal, which felt like I didn't think I was going to make it this year. Most of that is the stock market doing what the stock market should be doing. Most of that, because that's included in the tracker, right? So if the stock market stops doing what it's going to do, it's not going to do that. It's not going to do that. If the stock market stops doing what I want it to do, we're going to have a problem. The tracker is going to have a problem. But like I said, there's no judgment attached to it for me because I can't control the stock market. So if it goes up, what did I do? Nothing really, right? If it goes down, what did I do? Nothing really, right? So that's how I do that. All right. Can we commit to a tracker? If you have debt and you want to get out of debt, can you commit to having a tracker that tracks your debt that you update at least monthly? Adelia says, if it's important, you should track it. Ooh. Savitri says an email to yourself. I would forget an email to myself. I honestly would. I have my trackers set up as bookmarks on my Chrome so that every time I open my thingy, I can easily access it. I don't track it every time, but every time I'm like, oh, I can boop, boop, boop. It's right there. Boop, boop. So yes. Can you write in the chat that you commit to having a tracker? If you commit to having a tracker, if you really want to get out of debt, you should commit to a tracker, some kind of tracking mechanism. There are apps for it that I haven't used because I got out of debt before apps were a thing. I remember, I think I was already like out of my house. I paid off my house really early. And I think it might have been paid off by the time I was dating a guy who was an early adopter of iPhones. Super early adopter of iPhones. And I don't think it was fully paid off then, but I was on my like very, very close to paying it off when he got the first iPhone I'd ever seen. So yeah, apps weren't a thing. Let's get out of debt. Okay. Brown Girls Trade 2 says mint and you need a budget. which trackers are the safest? For me, it's not necessarily. So I use Mint. Not as regularly as I used to. When I was in debt, I used it very, very regularly. Because I'd open up Mint and Mint would be like, girl, you know how much money you spent? Because I was also very, very trying to be faithful to my budget in a way that I'm not now. I'm just being perfectly honest. That Mint helped me. I've never used You Need a Budget. Okay, so this morning when I walk, I was like thinking about stuff and I was like, I bought my first house almost 20 years ago. And I've never felt so old. I have never felt so old as like I made a significant a grown-up financial investment almost 20 years ago. Like that sounds crazy to me. Crazy. Okay, so y'all are committing to tracking. I like this. So Auntie Lou, my point was that I don't necessarily think about the safest. I think about the easiest. What's the easiest way to track that you will always do it? Like Mint, I can track how much money I have using Mint, right? And open it every time and see it. Because Mint will grab the information, like it's an aggregator of information. So it'll grab your debt and your assets. But something about going into each individual account and actually writing out the number sticks with me a little bit more than just opening up Mint and seeing what it is, right? And that's why I have a spreadsheet. That's what I use. Blair Waldorf uses Notes app on her phone. Okay. All right. Amina uses Mint but needs to pay attention to the app more. Yeah, it's easy to be like, that's Mint's problem, right? Like, yes, Mint, you have all the answers. And yes, I overspent on coffee this month, but stay out my inbox, right? Mint used to email me about like, girl, you know what your budget doing? And no, Mint, I absolutely do not, or it might not be doing that. Please, and I'd like to continue. Yesterday I was having a conversation with someone and she's like, I just need to say, and I was like, do you? This was a very friendly conversation. But I was like, she was like, factually. And I was like, do I need your facts? Or can I live in my delusion? Right? Like, do I need you to tell me how the world really is? Or can I stay here and marinate in how my world is and my worldview? Like, do I need to hear you tell me a truth? That's how I felt about Mint a lot. Like, girl, what are you? So it's effective for some people. It's annoying for others to have an app be like, you have spent too much on food this month. You've gone over your budget on food. And I got to eat mints. Like, whoa. Right? Like, so you have to figure out how you respond to those things and figure out what is best for you. Adelia says, you need a budget that has a learning curve, but if you need to assign every dollar a job, it's good for that. Amber says Mint sends too many messages. I think you control what messages they send. I don't get any messages from them now. I think I turn off all emails. Baby, when I want to know, I'll go to you. You ain't got to come to me. But I do like that. I do like that it keeps track. Okay, so we're going to talk about, well, let me switch these orders around. So first, we're going to do the math. And part of doing the math to know our total outstanding debt is we're going to write down every single debt. This is 1.5. Write down every single debt that is outstanding, including any debts to friends and families, any kind of informal debt, any kind of like, maybe someone gave you money, but it would feel better in your soul to give it back. Write it down. Or let go of that need to give it back, right? If you are not going to sleep well until you give money back that someone gifted you, write it down. But if they gifted you money, say thank you and let any kind of emotional go, right? But write down any money you owe to friends and family because we're not going to not pay them, right? All right. While you're doing that, figure out what debts what emotional reaction you get when you see, yes, D, friends and family, if you owe them money, it's money. Regina, include the mortgage on a house. Then people want their money. The bank wants their money. Write it down. You can't go to the bank. Well, I mean, you can go to the bank and be like, here, take the house, right? But if that's not your plan, write it down because you owe them money. You can write down, including friends and family. Then we're going to figure out, how do we feel emotionally about each individual debt? A lot of the debts you have, you're going to feel emotionally neutral about. Like, I spent the money, I got to pay it back. Some debts, you're going to feel like, I really want to pay this off. Like, it triggers something. And what it's going to trigger is usually, I need to pay this off immediately. Like, ooh, if I could cut off my thumb and pay it back, I would, right? Not every debt. But some of them, you're like, there's gonna be ones where you're like, I need to get out from under this. And there's some of those other debts where you're gonna be like, the Lord will provide, right? Like them student loans. A lot of people in general are like, they can come get it from the casket, right? Like what? So figure out what you want, how you feel. Like whatever ones that feel like they're urgent, you need to pay. And we're not looking at numbers. We're not looking at interest rates. We're not looking at amount outstandings. This is not a repayment method per se. We're just looking at how you feel about them emotionally. Because so many of us, when adopting someone else's payment method, there are a lot of popular repayment plans out there. And a lot of times you can just pick a plan like Snowball or Avalanche or any of those, which we'll talk about more in a second. But in order to pay off debt, you need a personalized repayment plan. I really think that each of us individually need a plan that aligns with who we are today. You need a plan that aligns with who you are today and tomorrow, right? So what are the debts you need to pay off? Maybe a lot of plans are like, start with your smallest, and we'll talk about this, start with your smallest amount owed. But if you owe your mama money, and that feels like something that's on your heart, you want to pay her back immediately, right? I don't care I don't think it matters what size that is. Because that's, until you get to that debt, you're always going to feel like you're not really paying off the debt that's important to you, right? So I want you to pay off the debt that's important to you first. And maybe if everything is neutral, if you feel neutral about all the debts, you just got to pick a payment method. But if one of those somewhere feels like, I never care if I pay this off, right? Or if it feels like, I need to pay this off today, let's get the one you need to pay off today at the top of your payment method, of your repayment plan, and the one that you really don't care about at the end, right? Oh, did I say I'm not a financial advisor? I'm a girl with a mouth. So take care of yourself, pay your bills. But if there's something if you're like, I have an ex that owes me money, and he knows until he pays me back that money, he should never speak to me ever in life. If I saw him bleeding on the sidewalk, I would pat his pockets. Like I don't play that shit. Seriously, I would. Where's my money? Where's your wallet? I know he has forgotten about this debt, or I am so far down his repayment plan, I'm never on it. I'm never on it because he makes excuses about why. He'll acknowledge owing me money and then be like, oh, here's why I don't owe you money, which is fine. Just do that somewhere else. Don't do that in my inbox, in my DM, anywhere. Because anywhere you show up, the first thing I'm going to say to you is, where's my money? And it's happened multiple times. Where's my money? If you don't have my money, what's there to talk about? Not you hitting me up from a business account that you share with people because you think I'm not going to figure out who it is and writing like cryptic messages. Because I'm going to respond calling you trash and telling you you owe me money. And now all your business partners have seen it and you're embarrassed and it's somehow my fault. I told you. And when I say money, I mean it's probably like $200. I don't care. Until you pay me back the money you owe me, don't speak to me. Anyhow you show up in my world, while you owe me this money, you getting cussed out. That man don't care about paying me back. He doesn't care about paying me back. And that's fine. If I even register to him as an outstanding debt, it's at the end of all the other debts he has, right? And that's okay because that's his life and I can't prioritize things for him. Just stay out my life. Just don't talk to me. You don't get cussed out. Right. So go through the emotional attachment you have. Baby, I would pat that man's pockets if I saw him on the ground. Where is my money? And this is a debt from like 2000 and it can be past 2012. This is at least 10 years old. I don't, it's 200, maybe 3-4, but not over $400. I don't even remember how much. I have it written down somewhere in emails to him. I don't know. Hi, Victoria. Girl, we just be talking. What's your emotional attachment to money? We're going to come up with a plan to repay your money, right? Okay, so like we said before, some people like the snowball plan. When I repaid my debt, I basically used the snowball plan. Oh, Anita says small claims. I ain't taking small claims for a couple $100. I'm not doing that. What I'm going to do is say for the rest of my life, that man does not exist to me. I'm taking my money back. But if you know me, you know people not existing to me is very easy. I'd be like, I forget about people all the time. So I only think about the only time I think about that man is when he shows up in my world trying to sneak back in. And I have to be like, I told you before. Until I get my money, we ain't gonna, like, every single time. I got to be like, you trash mother. Why are you here when my Venmo is empty? Anyway, enough of my personal financial thanks. All right. Cassandra says, debt freedom translated to ancestral freedom for and to me. I knew that my emancipation moves could and would inspire my friends and family to embrace and seek their freedom also. A word, Cassandra. An absolute word. Yes. All right. So we're coming up with a plan. I use the snowball method mostly. And what that means, a lot of you guys are going to be familiar with it, but what that means is that you pay off the smallest debt first, right? And then after you pay off the smallest debt, you put all the money you were putting, so you're paying the minimum payment on the rest of your debts. You're paying your smallest debt, you pay off, you put the minimum payments towards all the other debts that are larger. The outstanding balance is larger than the smallest debt. And then you put all the money you have left over towards the snowball, the smallest debt. And then this is why it's a snowball, rolling downhill and getting larger. When you pay off the first debt, you put all the money, you put the minimum payments, so pay the minimum payments on all the other ones. You take that minimum payment, the payment you're putting towards your smallest debt. I can say these words, I really can, and put it towards the second smallest debt. So all the money you're putting towards the first debt, you're putting now towards the second debt on top of the minimum payment you were paying before. And then you're paying the minimum on all the rest of it. It worked for me, right? I'm just like, okay, I'll do this. Boom, 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 smallest debts. If you have something that your spirit tells you need to pay off first, put that at the top. Do snowball if that works for you, but put the thing that's you're emotionally attached to at the front. Make that be the debt you pay off first, right? Because that's what's going to keep you going, right? Like you feel a way about this, you want it off your shoulders. I hate debt. I hate being in debt. when I was laid off in 2008, 9, 2009, and I had a mortgage and no income, I was like, because before that, I was like, ooh, young lawyer, 6 figures, ball, shop, no. Even though I was in debt, had a house I had to pay for. When I got laid off, I didn't have any money coming in. I was like, oh, this is not my ministry. Being in debt with no income is not. I was literally scared that I was going to lose my house, like terrified that I was going to lose my house. I thought every day, I was like, okay, there's unemployment coming in, but like, how am I going to pay for my house? Now I'm gonna tell y'all, the highest my mortgage ever was, I bought my house in 2006 in Central Ohio, was $670. And yet and still, I was like, but how am I going to pay that? but how? How am I going to pay my mortgage and eat? And did I have a car payment too at that point? I don't remember. Yes, I think I did. Scared. Okay. The other payment. Okay, I'm going to tell y'all. Because Kelly's a realtor in Tampa Bay. She helps out of town customers buy housing in Tampa. And she helps local sellers sell as well. Kelly was just in our Get Your Next 3 Clients challenge, so I know it's about her. Anyway, when I bought my house, I looked at this house. I liked it. It went back to the bank. The people surrendered the house to the bank. So I liked it, and I came back, and it was $25,000 cheaper than it had been the first time I looked at it. Like, I liked it at the first price, and I came back, and it was on sale. I think it went from it was $109,000, and then it went to $84,000. You got houses on sale? Okay. So, going through the process, I asked my bank for the letter they give you. What do they call that? That says this is how much money we'll lend you, like, so you can prove that you can buy the house. What? I was studying I was about to graduate law school when this happened. All I had was a letter from my law firm saying, this is her. We're going to pay her. They're going to pay me $100,000 a year. That was my starting salary. Pre-approval letter. Thank you, Jesus. And the bank was like, cool. We'll give you $300,000. And they sent the letter to my realtor. I don't know why. Maybe that's how the process works. They sent the letter to my realtor. And my realtor was like, before I show this to you. And I don't know if I was not a 26-year-old Black girl, whether we would have had the same conversation, right? I don't know. But she was like, I want to have a talk with you. She's like, before I show you this letter, they've approved you for an amount of money, but I don't think you should spend it. She was like, you can get more house than you were planning on getting, but I don't think that's a good idea. And I was like, okay. And she handed it to me, and it was like $300,000. And I was like, mind you, I'm looking at houses. I just fell in love with a house that was $109 before it went on sale, right? So through this process, she was like, yeah, you can buy a much bigger house, but I don't feel like, perhaps you consider not doing that. Perhaps you should consider not spending all this money, not getting in this debt. And I was like, okay, right? Like I already see the house I like, right? Like it's 84. And honestly, yeah, it was a really helpful conversation. If I had seen $300,000 before we had that conversation, maybe I would have been like, let's ball out, right? Like let's hit the max. That would have been quite terrible for me when I was laid off, when the economy changed, right? Because at I think it was like 640, and then I don't know why it went. The interest rate didn't increase. Maybe 670 is wrong, but I think we started at about like 640. I don't remember. It was almost 20 years ago, but it was six something. It was under $700 the entire time. Over six, yeah, maybe like 640 is where it started. I would have been, if I was scared at 640, imagine if my mortgage was 3 times that. It would have been terrified. I would have been in fear. So yes, I'm really glad we had that conversation. I'd like all of you to remember this conversation in the future when you have the opportunity to get in debt to buy something larger than you might possibly need. Now, I was the only, of all the people who started at the law firm I started at when I worked there, and all the people who I worked with at the company I worked with later on, everyone had these like mini mansions because it's Central Ohio. There's always a new build going on. There's always, you can get a McMansion all over the place. And everybody would be like, you live where? Your house is cute. My house is paid off. I paid off my house in under 10 years. Because I could afford it. Because I didn't get a $300,000 loan. Because I got, under $100,000 loan. That's why I could afford it. I could afford it. That's yes. Why don't you move? Because my house is paid off. And it's a 3-bedroom house, right? I don't need more space for this. Now it's hood adjacent. I tell y'all all the time, the closest bank to me, my bank, is how you know when I tell you I was hood adjacent. I am not lying. First of all, there was a Church's Chicken around the corner. But second of all, the ATM at the bank I went to would give you money if you wanted it in multiples of 1. You could get $1 out the ATM. I have never in my life again seen an ATM where you can get it. The first time I saw it, I was like, they must be joking. So I got out like $11, and here you go. I said, oh, wait a minute now. I can get $1. I can get $1 out of this ATM. I was hood adjacent. So I was judged quite a bit for my house, but I'm gonna tell you, having a paid off house. Hey, Alexa Negar says, do you live by Bexley? I live between Bexley and Eastmore. I lived in Eastmore, but I live between Bexley and like Eastmore. Yes. I did not live in Bexley. You weren't getting it when I moved in. You were not getting an $84,000 house in Bexley, but I lived. You know that Church's Chicken. I lived over there, and you probably know the Huntington I'm talking about too. If you know that much. Once I said Central Ohio, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, I could get $1 at the ATM. So yes, living in the hood usually means there's no bank. There was a bank. You get dollars. Okay, so I had an emotional attachment to getting rid of all of my debts. So for you guys, figure out what it is, do that. My house had the second lowest interest rate to my student loans. I had multiple student loans. And so I paid off my house first before I paid off my student loans, I think. I don't remember. But listen, by the time I started snowballing and I paid off all of these smaller debts, I had a lot of money to go towards the other debts, right? Because once you put all your money towards one debt and that pays off, you freed up a lot of money to go towards the next debt. By the time you get to the third and the fourth and the fifth, that pile of money you're giving is so much more than the minimum payments. I think at one point I was paying 3 times my mortgage to the bank every month. At one point, the bank wrote me and was like, "Girl, stop it." And I was like, "Absolutely not." Are you applying the money I'm giving? Like multiple times I called them. I was like, "Are you applying the money? Like, let's walk through how you're applying my payments." Because they were like, "What are you doing? Stop paying us money." And I was like, "I absolutely will not. There's no prepayment penalty, so I absolutely will not. And you are going to apply this money how you're supposed to." Let's talk through this. All right. So the other debt payment method is debt. Another one is debt avalanche, where you pay based on the largest interest rate. If that makes more sense to you and feels better in your soul than paying off the smallest amount, do that. But also remember to pay any debt that feels pressing on your heart. Put it at the top of the list. No matter if it's the lowest interest rate and you're doing the avalanche, or if it's the largest one and you're doing the snowball, put the one that you feel emotionally compelled to pay first at the front. Trust me, do that. Pay it off. And then that will get you in the habit of like paying with a payment plan that works for you. All right, that snowball, paying the smallest ones and then larger. Debt avalanche, largest interest rate, then the next largest, and the next largest, then the next largest. With the ones, like if there's a debt you don't care about and they're not going to charge you, if there's a debt you don't care about and they're not charging you ridiculous interest and they're not charging you ridiculous fees or anything, put it at the end. Student loans, I was like, I couldn't go abroad with student loan debt. I would not have been able to take my career break if I had student loan debt, because of the like mental trauma that I went through when I had a great financial plan in place, and then the wool was pulled out underneath my feet by my employer, who was like, we're a family, we would never lay anybody off, and they laid us off like 20% of their associates the next month. Like that, with 2 weeks severance. What am I do with 2 weeks severance? Please. 2 weeks severance, if you signed a document saying you could never say anything bad about them and they could say whatever they wanted about you at any time, then you get 2 weeks severance. I was like, I guess I'm not getting the money, because I'm going to talk shit about y'all any chance I get. Someone gives me a microphone, I'm on it. What are we talking about? For 2 weeks, you think you can buy silence with two weeks severance? Anyway, I wouldn't have been able to go abroad with student loan debt, but you're not me. And I know a lot of y'all are going to be able to feel good and been like, especially now when Biden's supposed to be on it and he not. Get on it. All y'all in the government. Y'all all got sponsors, right? If we've learned nothing from Clarence Thomas, is they are all welfare queens. They all getting handouts. Well, listen, come to us with our handouts, please. Listen, I am someone who paid off all of I had hundreds. 6 figures, and the first number wasn't 1. The first number was not 1, I tell you, of student loan debt. Hundreds of thousands of student loan debt, and I paid it all off years ago. And I want the government to step in and get y'all out of debt. I'm not one of those people who's like, well, I paid it off, so you should. No. Forgive it. Forget. If it can be if you have the power of government to forgive student loan debt, Go ahead and forgive it. And then let us do things with our money. Take that load off of our shoulders. Forgive the debt. Because y'all be lying about what this education is going to get us to begin with. To begin with. The whole country's more expensive than it was 20 years ago. Our educations are more expensive and less valuable. You're out here lying to the kids, lying to the children about what they're going to benefit from when they go to college. Forgive that debt. Let's move on. I'm not mad at it. If I still had debt and I knew I had a solid income, like if I didn't have my traumatic moment financially, which I told y'all about, try to be transparent about, I would have been paying the minimum forever. Okay. Okay, so we talked about the first step, writing down the math. We're only at step 2. It's been an hour into this. How long is this going to go? All right, so we're going to write it down. We're going to figure out which accounts we have emotional attachment to, and put those on either end of our debt repayment plan. We're going to figure out a debt repayment plan, right? The last debt repayment plan I didn't talk about was debt consolidation. I don't love debt consolidation. I don't love debt consolidation because a lot of times when you're consolidating debt, you're consolidating all of your debts that are all going to be at a different interest rate at what is probably a larger interest rate than most of your debts, right? So you're paying more over time, right? The interest is going to be larger than it would have been if they were individual. I don't really think debt consolidation for me would be the answer unless I was making every single, unless I was getting a lot of fees charged for late payment fees because I couldn't pay the individual ones. So one late payment fee would be better than paying, 12 late payment fees, right? If I make the consolidated debt, if I don't make that payment on time, I get a late payment fee from them. If I don't make all my debts on time, I'm gonna get a bunch of late payment fees. But the money you're going to need to pay the debt consolidation is generally not going to be lower than paying the individual debts themselves. And so and then debt consolidation leads to other issues. So I heard the advice of a terrible financial planner, took out a home equity loan on my house. Can y'all hear where this is going? Y'all know which terrible mistake I made? Took out a home equity line on my house and paid off my credit card bills. And at the time, my mom was like, that sounds dumb. She was like, how are you not gonna end up in debt again? You're going to get this loan, but your credit card bill, you haven't done anything to stop your credit cards just to change the way you spend money. You just put a Band-Aid over it. And I was like, yeah, girl, whatever. Sure. Okay. And then guess what happened? Racked up more credit card debt again. So yes, I took unsecured at the advice of a financial planner. I've talked about her on the channel before. A devil. But I took unsecured debt and used my house to secure it. You know how dumb that is? I took unsecured revolving debt and turned it into secured by my house debts, and then continued to rack up more unsecured debt. Yes, that was bad advice for real, but she was like, no, whatever. And also, so this is something that happened, and this is why I always push you guys to get into how you feel personally, right? It's because money is very personal. She was like, no one ever pays off their student loan debts, so don't even worry about those. Don't ever. You're gonna have those for the rest of your life. If I had those for the rest of my life, I wouldn't be living the life I live now. If I had hundreds of thousands of student loan debts, I would have never left the US because I would have felt like I need to stay and pay it off. And other people feel differently. But like I said, debt is like an anchor for me that is very, very uncomfortable. So yeah, so I don't debt consolidation wasn't good for me. It's not going to be good for some other people, but some people, the terms are going to work out perfectly for them. Right? So debt consolidation is one like repayment method people talk about, because then you get all the debt or some of the debt in one bucket. And instead of having to figure out which one to pay, you just put all your money towards one thing. If the interest rates are higher, does it make sense? If it has to be secured now versus unsecured debt, and secured, if you're not quite sure what I mean is that if I didn't pay the HELOC, they could come get my house. If I didn't pay the credit card bill before I consolidated my credit card bills under the HELOC, all they could do was lower my credit score. Right? Once I got it secured by the house, they could come get the house. Terrible advice. Terrible advice. Okay, so the next thing I want you to do, so this is step 4. We have done the math. We figured out which accounts we have emotional attachment to. We have figured out a debt reduction plan that works for us. Can you now think of a debt reduction plan that is good for you? That would work for you? Like Snowball, but I got to pay my uncle off first, right? Or Avalanche, but them student loans is with God, right? Like raise your hand in the chat. Tell me if you have a debt reduction plan that will work for you. Come on. Let me know. Because I know most of y'all already what your debts are completely. You started the chat by telling me you know how much you owe, so you should be able to figure this out. Come on. Okay, so I actually want to address this, Victoria. My computer's been really slow today. Victoria says, I think it's best to reduce your most expensive debt first. That is logic. And I want you guys to separate the logic of money from the emotion of money, right? The logic of money is going to work for people who can think of this purely logically. But most of us with money have an emotional attachment to certain parts of it, right? And so while financially paying off the most expensive debt first might be a plan that saves you the most interest payments, right? You might pay less in interest if you pay off the most expensive debt first. But if you're not motivated to pay off your most expensive debt, are you going to change your actions in the way you need to change your actions in order to pay off any of your debt, right? Like, so don't just think about what makes sense in the real world. Think about what makes sense in your life. Victoria is right. Like, paying off your most expensive debt first, the one with the highest interest rate, will help you save on interest over time. But is the savings significant enough? Can you run the numbers? There are a lot of debt repayment calculators out there. If you run the numbers, is it significant enough that every time you look in your girl's face, who you owe, now you can't go, you owe your girl money. Now you can't go out for a happy hour because you feel like you got to pay her back first, right? Like, is it worth paying off the credit card company with the highest interest rate first? Or is it worth paying back your uncle, your girlfriend, your coworker? Don't borrow money for your coworkers. Like, don't do that. But you know what I mean? Like, think about the emotional attachments. If I had an attachment, like my HELOC, I had to go first. I didn't care what the interest rate was. I had to go first. Once I realized what a dumb mistake I did, I had to go first. Because baby, y'all not gonna come get this house. Y'all not coming to get this house for nothing. So let me pay this off. Emotionally, I was like, oh, that was after I did it, and I paid it off, and the credit cards got jacked up again. I was like, oh no, my mom was right. That was dumb. Let me go ahead and give this one back. Let me give y'all your money back. Because I made a dumb mistake, and I feel not smart about this mistake. So, paying off the most expensive debt. If I did that, it would be my credit card debts. I don't want to do that. Emotionally, I wanted to pay off my HELOC first. Because I wasn't that motivated to pay off my credit card debts, or I wouldn't have been in huge credit card debt to begin with. Not huge, but big enough that I can get some money at the house to pay for it. You have to come up with a plan that works for you, right? Logic isn't the answer to finances 9/10 of the time, or all of us would be in better position financially, right? If logic was the answer, we wouldn't buy half the stuff we have, right? Because it's like, oh, I don't have money for that. But like, we're not using our like, we're not just like square beings who are logical, right? We're humans, and we bring us into it. And so when you're bringing you into it, bring you into your debt repayment plan, right? Like feel free to ignore advice you see online or get from other people or financial advisors, and do what works for you. 40-something fire, I think is Aisha, says, when I was paying off debt, I tackled small bills first. So it was one less payment to forget to send in. I love it. Then I got strategic. Yes. I love that plan. Every time Mint, I was using Mint back then, Mint was like zero balance. I was like, yes, look at this. Paid off all the small bills first. Yes. Yes. I see D is telling y'all to pay me first. Yes, if you owe me money, pay me first. I will put you on blast on YouTube. I will pat your pockets. Yes, let your we are emotional beings. Let your emotions guide this within confines of good sense, right? Like look at what the numbers mean, and then figure out really what you want to do. Adelia out here spitting the truth. It can be logical, but if it don't sit right with you, you'll never follow through. Yes. Your debt repayment plan will never work if you're not motivated to pay off the debt, right? If financially a student loan is at the front of your snowball, we have a small student loan, and your idea about your student loans is like, that's not my business. The first bill you have to get through is that it's not my business bill. You're never going to get to it is my business bills, right? Like it's hard to do that. Put the ones you really care about at the top. And then next. So we've done the math. We've figured out our emotions tied to all the accounts. We have figured out a debt reduction plan. Next, we're going to do the thing I didn't do. We're going to stop future debt. It's time to stop. It's time to, a lot of times what happens with people and credit cards is that they pay some off and they charge some more. They pay some off, they charge some more, they pay some off. And a lot of times it could go down, but for a lot of us, it's just going up. It's just going slowly and slowly, especially those of us those of us who were borrowing and charging and in the money world pre-Dodd-Frank. We would borrow and pay and borrow and pay, and it would go up and up and up. How can you stop getting into debt? I read advice once about like freezing your credit cards, and I was like, that sounds dumb. Now, also, I was getting out of debt before your credit cards auto-populated on your phone. on your computer everywhere you went. Google now was like, oh, which card do you want to use, girl? We got you. Just press the button and we go on it. So I could like leave my cards at home and like bring my debit card with me and like leave my credit cards at home and be okay. Now I think you need to clear your cards from your places. How are we going to stop future debt? If online shopping is your problem, unsubscribe from all those store emails. You don't need to know when they have a sale. That sale is not your business. Paying off your debt is your business. Because if I see you outside of Starbucks trying to hustle me for money on a Sunday morning, talking about it takes $20, you need $20 to get to the airport, I'm going to talk about you on the internet. Don't do that. Don't do that. What can you do to stop future debt, right? Just Kendra. Actually got rid of all consumer debt over about 10 years. Yes. I only had one credit card and paid a settlement they offered me. Yes. Celeste did something that a lot of us have done or will do at some point, which is take advantage of one of those credit card transfer offers and calculated how much to pay off while interest free, because that like open a card or transfer all of your thing over and you'll have like 6 months interest free. Go ahead and give them every single cent you have for that interest free period. Every penny. You see a penny on the street, mail it to your credit card company, right? If you're going to do that transfer. If you're not going to do that transfer, by the time if you're not going to pay aggressively, by the time they do kick into an interest rate, they don't get their money back, dog. So I used to work for people, for companies who made money lending money. You don't know, I worked for a couple of auto companies. One issued a credit card. We had a bank, we issued credit cards. And then we lent money for cars. I saw people getting in trouble daily. Lots of bad decisions. Lots of bad decisions. Lots of bad decisions. But like the companies who are lending you money, no matter what their offer is, if they are a bank, no matter what offer they're mailing you, they gonna do their best to out hustle you and get their money from you. These banks are getting paid, right? Like you get that transfer offer, they know what percentage of people are still gonna have that balance and still gonna be paying them interest. And they believe, if they're sending you that offer, they believe you're in the number. They're not sending the same offer to everybody. They believe you are if they're sending you a balance transfer offer with 0% interest, they believe you're not going to pay that off. They have complicated algorithms, and they know in their heart you're not going to pay that off, and you're going to end up paying them interest on the transferred amount instead of paying your current bank interest. That is what they're betting on. They're betting on the fact that you are going to end up paying them money on that amount and not the bank you're currently paying the interest to now, because you're not going to pay it off in the interest-free window. They are not rookies. I always say, like, if you're going to play a game to win, know whether your opponent is better on the other side than you are on yours, right? Like, I'm not out here committing crime because I got to assume the police are a little better at catching criminals than I am at being one. Because I haven't been living a life of crime. I got to get my crime game up before I do anything the police might notice, right? Well, we talk about the other day, I need to start with a little light fraud before I get to the big ones. Because I'm not fraudy, right? Like I can't come out the gates like I'm a hustle and I'm a win. Not with the bank, because they've been winning for years. That's why they're in business. And when they don't win, they take the taxpayers' money. They win even when they lose. They win in when they lose. The banks know how to get your money. So if I say this as someone who's worked directly and indirectly for banks, I have written loan documents, car loan documents, property loan documents. I have written real estate documents. I have written them. I know what they say. They gonna get their money. Any offer you get from a financial institution, that financial institution already has run the numbers on you specifically, and they believe they gonna win. They believe they gonna win. Now you got to, if you take the offer, you gotta be on it. You gotta stay on it, or they gonna win, right? Like they are the experts at getting money out your pocket. They are the experts at reaching in and being like, "Look, that's ours. Oh, it's not ours. Oh, here goes your credit score. Now get money from somebody else," right? Like they're the experts at that. Any offer you get, if it's a new credit card, if it's a transfer, if it's any kind of like personal loan, they believe they're going to get their money's worth from it. You got to win. Don't play that game unless you're ready to play the game. Do not play that transfer balance unless you're like, and every possible cent I can find is going towards them in that no interest period. All right. Y'all know I get on my tangents and I get worked up. That was one. I feel it in my soul. The bank already knows. The bank knows you. They checking your credit behind the scenes. They're checking your payment history. And they said, baby, we can get some more. We're not getting enough money from her. We're not getting enough of her money. Let's get some more money from her. Don't do it. Okay, so how are we not going to spend any more money? Right? Have we talked about car loans lately? As someone who worked in auto finance for a long time, every time in the past like 5 years where I see the number, I'm someone who worked in auto finance and has also not had a car, my own car, or paid for my own car in at least 15 years. At least 15 years I haven't paid for cars. I work in auto. Give me the keys, thank you. Yes, it's your car. You can get it back anytime, like when I leave. But for now, like I have no car payment. I haven't had a car payment in over 15 years. And the last car I bought, the last 2 cars I bought, I drove them. Like I said, one of them I drove until the mechanic was like, baby girl, can we take it out to pasture and shoot it? He was like, I don't think you should fix it. He was like, no, I don't. We could fix it. But what if you just bought a new car? I was like, my God, you already want to do your job? He was like, no. What if you just, and so I didn't go buy a new car, I bought a used car, which I drove until to the auto company I worked for. I started working for the auto company. And they were like, on my first day of work, they were like, come to the lot and see what car you want to pick. Come to the lot and pick a car. And now I got an X3 on my first day of work. My first day of like, I worked there as a temp first. So my first day of like permanent work. And then I gave my car away. I haven't had an auto payment in at least 15 years. Every time I see auto payments now, the number, I'm like, why would we do this? I legitimately, like when I moved to the Bay Area, I was like, should I buy a car? I looked at car prices and I was like, I should not buy a car. I'll be on the train. Now I know some of us live in places, like when I lived in Central Ohio, I couldn't have gotten around on the bus, or I couldn't have, it's a car. They've designed these cities to benefit car manufacturers and financiers. You need a car to get anywhere. In some places, I get it. Every time I see, especially new car loans, I'm like, but why? So when we think about not getting new debt, can y'all not buy new cars? Please? Just for now. Like this isn't going to last forever. I think car payments are going to stay high, but we had that little issue last year where they couldn't get a new car, all that stuff. For now, can we not do car loans? If I buy a car again, if I buy a car again, it'll be cash. And I've never bought a new car in my life. I've always driven a car until it died. I want that for you. Because I know that in a lot of ways, cars and houses are like symbols of success. But symbols of success for who? And what success? Right? Like, I drove luxury cars nonstop for about a decade. And it's nice. Pulling up in a brand new Z4, hopping out. Y'all know me, that's my kind of jam. If I had to pay the car note on the Z4, I would have been in like, I would have been in a used Sentra. Used. I had a Dodge Stratus. A 2001 Dodge Stratus. When I left the Bay Area to when I moved, was in law school in Virginia, to when I was working in a law firm where I was making six figures, same car. Until the mechanic said, girl, what are you doing? Can we not get in cars? I saw Astrid say something I thought was really important. My car's paid off, but I'll be honest, I feel insecure about the look of it. Not getting a car note would still feel away. If your car gets you, I know, but this is emotional again, right? This is what we talked about. We talked about how our decisions aren't necessarily going to be logical. A lot of them are going to be emotional. If you feel a way about the way your car looks, can you shift that to feeling some joy about not having a car note? Can you look at your car and in your brain tell yourself, yes, baby. Every time you see your car, talk to it and be like, yes, I don't owe nobody any money. I don't owe anybody any money. Like, get in your car and say that. Because yes, you might feel away, but I'm gonna tell you, a lot of the cars you're seeing on the street are leveraged. A lot of the cars you're seeing on the street are not paid off. A lot of the cars you're seeing on the street are leased and got to go back to daddy dealership in a year or two. If you have a paid off car, talk to your car. Tell it how proud of you. I'm so proud of you, baby. I owe nobody nothing, right? A lot of the cars that look good. I've said this before here, so it's no big surprise. I work for BMW. BMW, as a brand, owns Mini and owns Rolls-Royce motor cars. I didn't work on the repossessions end, but homie down the hall did. 2 offices down. And we would talk through things sometimes. And I would be like, so when they picked up, it would be like, okay, so they went to repo this Rolls. And here's the story. People not paying for their cars, baby. All the luxury cars you see on the street, the percentage that are financed is very, very high. Why? Because one, there's a lot of incentives to finance because they make so much money from it. Generally, the money that can be made selling a car and the money that can be made financing a car. This is where the money is. The money is made in the finance, not the selling. Not the making and selling, there's only so much profit you can do, right? Generally. Financing the car with them 7-8 year loans they're doing now, that's where the money is made. That's where the hustle is. Stop buying cars. I beg of you. This wasn't even a bullet point on my list, but I really want y'all to stop. Stop buying cars. Stop buying new cars. Buy a used car. Buy a used car cash. And it may not be the prettiest car on the market, but you're not gonna have nobody coming to your door. That tow truck ain't pulling up because it's your. I would hear repossession stories and be like, I would look at people's payment schedules and the loan. I would look at some loan amounts and be like, why is there 4 figures in the monthly payment? 4 figure, 2,000 what as the monthly payment? Baby, if you could pay 2,000 something for your car every month, just pay it in cash. Just pay upfront for the car, unless you have logicked this, and maybe it's a business expense. Like maybe, and you have worked all the numbers exactly. If it's your personal car and your personal car payment is $2,000. When I graduated from law school, I'd been dating this guy. We'd stopped dating by then. But I think we both thought we were gonna get married at some point. Pew, 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 dodging bullets. All right, now. He immediately, he lives somewhere in a place with a lot of land. I lived in Ohio. I bought an $84,000 house. I was making more money than him, fresh out of law school. He bought, I think, like $2,000 or $3,000 something house, with 5 bedrooms. It was just him. He bought 5 bedrooms. He was like, I wanted the house. I bought the house. Okay. By this time, we're already broken up, so we're just catching up and talking about things. I am in the car I had before I went to law school. Still, he bought a brand new 5 Series BMW. And when I was like, why would you buy a brand new one? Right? Just curiosity. He's like, I wanted a car that nobody had sat in yet. And it was at that point that I was like I knew I dodged a bullet with you, but you're buying stuff just because no one sat it. You've been working. You have an offer letter just like I did. You've been working for like 2 days. And people lent you money based on the offer letter you have from a law firm. Yay. But I'm pretty sure his car was like $60,000 and his house was like, and I know how much you're making, and it doesn't support that. It does not. But like, he wanted emotionally those things. Did that pay off for him? I don't know, but it was a clear sign to me that we would have never been financially aligned enough to make a life together. We would have never been financially aligned. Like, why are you buying a 5-bedroom house? Why are you buying a brand new? Like, I'm not here to judge. So it's not really judgment on him. It's just very much like, oh no, we would have never been together. Now, also not me to judge, because I'll shop to fill an emotional hole. I'm gonna buy a plant when all else fails, right? Like, but I'm not buying a brand new car. The most important financial decision you'll ever make. He said that, and I was on the call like, thank Jesus. Thank God that man cheated on me and I figured it out. Because if not, and I never forgave him. I don't care enough that I don't forgive him. It's more like I did not move forward with the relationship after that. I won't say I never forgave him. I don't care about it. But thank God, because we probably would be married now if I hadn't figured out he cheated on me. And my whole financial life would be in shambles. Shambles, I tell you. That man is a shamble. He is a walking, talking shamble. Pew, pew, pew. Dodging bullets out here. Thank you for having poor penis control. Appreciate you. All right, so we're not buying new cars. We're not staying with men who drag us down financially. All right. One of the things I did, so what I was, let's ask you guys now in the comments, write down one step you can do today to curtail your spending so that you spend less each month. What can you do? Put it in the comments. So that the spending on things you don't think you need to spend on cuts down. Anytime I look at a sales email and I'm like, ooh, I don't really need that, but the price is unsubscribe. Unsubscribe. Y'all, these stores spend all their time figuring out how to sell you things. I'm never going to win that battle because I don't spend all my time figuring out how to not buy things. I told y'all, don't try to be the pro when you're the rookie. In this war between sellers and buyers, as a buyer, you're going to lose most times. The seller, no, they have teams of people trying to figure out what is the email to send you, send to you specifically, so you buy things. Stay on my inbox. Let me unsubscribe. If I ever need this again, if I ever need a discount code, I can resubscribe. But let me unsubscribe. So what are you going to do? Drop it in the chat. What are you going to do to cut down on the spending you don't need to spend? And then can you commit to putting the money you don't spend on the things you don't need towards your debt, towards that first debt, whichever debt you picked as your first one, put it down. Ooh, Ruth is going to drop a streaming service. I love what Aisha's here because she refuses to do any work for me, but every once in a while she's like, Aisha used to do my social media. And if you don't see social media right now, it's because Aisha's refusing to do it. But every once in a while she's like, that sounds crazy. I'm gonna put it on the net. Okay, girl. I said it. All right, Amina's going to leave her credit cards at home and carry cash, unsubscribe from sales. Text alert. Oh, text alerts? Baby, I used to get one from a swimwear company because they had great deals. But then every time I got a text, I'd be like, let me see what they're talking about online. No. Unsubscribe. Less Amazon shopping. Yes. When he's already started unsubscribing. Just Kendra says, I'm laughing at this because then you have to Uber the BMW to make someone else feel rich. I used to work for Uber and I used to work for BMW. That's why it's funny. I've been inside the machine, y'all. I have been inside the machine. And let me tell y'all, it's built for you to lose. It's built for you to lose. The US is built for you to be in debt. And you can leave the country and move somewhere else without debt. But if you can't service that debt, what happens to you? When the exchange rate in another country changes, my rent has gone up since last year of this time, $300. $300 based solely on the difference in the exchange rate. Solely, not a rent increase, solely on the difference in the exchange rate, my rent has gone up $300. If I had the debt I had 10 years ago, I wouldn't have another $300 for the same apartment. For the same apartment. Ain't nothing, y'all ain't at a bathroom. There's no extra bedroom, but you want $300 more. And to my landlord, who I pay in pesos, she's like, what are you talking about? It's the same amount of money. When we started negotiating this year's lease, I was like, I have to pay you so much more money now than before. And she was like, well, baby, the pesos ain't changed, so I'm not getting any more money. So why do I care? She really was like, I hear you, but that's not my issue. So if you don't have the money, if you don't have the cushion for the exchange rate to change drastically, if you don't have the cushion, because if you don't pay your outstanding debts, you're going to get a late fee and you can't cover all these late fees. I might see you at Starbucks getting loud to me and lying to me about you need $20 to go to the airport and you don't. I don't want this for y'all. I want you to move abroad in a life that feels easy, in a way that you feel generous, in a life where you feel financially secure. And that's very hard for most of us to do when we have significant debt. And we're not talking student loans, but like houses and cars and credit cards. I talked to someone in my group coaching who bought a car and then changed her mind about the car and was going to bring the car back. And the dealership was like, yeah, but that'll be like $10,000 on top, right? Like, yes, you bought the car like last week and now you want to return the car, but or with a loan, a lease. Alone. But if you want to return the car, it's going to be like an extra thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And she's like, I've had it for a week. And they were like, depreciation. What are you going to do? Right? Like our society is set up for you to get into debt and stay in debt. And so don't feel bad, but take some actions for you to stop getting in debt. Right? So, I love a no spend month. This is going to sound unbelievable to some of you because y'all know me. I spent, I think 2 years once not buying any clothes, no shoes. But that's how I got out of debt. Nothing. Anything I did not need, anything that wasn't food or trips, did not spend money on. And my dog. I had a house. I had a car. Well, I was getting cars. I did not spend years. And honestly, like that's what it took for me. Because otherwise, every time I paid off my credit card debt and my balance was zero, it felt like treat yourself. You got it all the way down to zero. Swipe, right? Like, and then it's not zero again. But then in a month or two, I get the same reward for paying it off again. But I'm not putting enough money towards paying off my mortgage or that HELOC because I keep having to pay off my credit card because it keeps growing because I keep swiping. Swipe or no swiping, right? Like someone needed to come slap my hand and it didn't happen. So what can you do, right? Like for me, it was no spend years. Like I'm eating well, right? I'm going on vacations, but I'm not buying new shoes or purses, right? Figure out what it is. Okay, so Stephanie says, my frivolous spending is on restaurant delivery. I think a private chef would honestly be cheaper, something like Herman Dowe has. My mom has a man who comes to her house each week and cooks and puts food in the fridge. I think he puts some in the freezer and he leaves. And I bet you it is cheaper than the restaurant delivery. Now, she's in Merida, Mexico, and these prices probably aren't the same in Indio, California, where Stephanie is right now. But when she moves to Costa Rica, I bet you this is a cheaper financial plan than regular restaurant delivery, right? I'm not saying... in a lot of financial conversations, right? We're talking about emotions again. People are like, bare bones, cut your food budget down to $50 a month. And this is how I did it. And don't spend any money unless you get money back. I'm not saying that. I'm saying figure out what you need to be joyful. And if there are things that don't add to pure joy in your life, if they add like maybe a temporary financial high, a temporary high, like when I'm in Nordstrom buying shoes, that's a high, but it's temporary. Because by the time the credit card bill comes, what am I saying? Y'all heard me in the beginning. Who did this? Where's the fraud? Where's the fraud? Who charged stuff? Who did? Oh, it's just me and my bad decisions. These shoes are cute. It's just me and my bad decisions, right? So I'm not saying take your life down to the bare bones, take your spending down to the bare bones, because I want you to live in the moment. A lot of times the message we get is to delay our happiness for a larger goal, right? So you don't have to. Stephanie talked about this yesterday, I'm pretty sure. It's religious, so I might be getting this wrong. But she talked about like people. No, or was this online? This might have been something I saw online. Yes, I don't think it was her. I think it was something on Twitter. People putting off happiness today because their happiness comes in heaven. Yes, they'll get their happiness in heaven. So they're not living for today. But like, don't you think your God wants you to be happy today? No? You think he wants you to be miserable on earth until you get to heaven? We must got different gods, right? Because I can't believe in a supreme being that doesn't want me to be joyful every day. Every day. Which is why I also don't go to church. Because, yes, like I will never tell you to delay pure joy. I will tell you to delay what's going to feel like a bad decision. I'll tell you to delay anything that you're going to have a hangover from. So those swipes where when the credit card bill comes, you're like, maybe I shouldn't have bought those shoes. Maybe I should have got a cheaper Airbnb. That's what I'm going to tell you to reconsider, right? What can you do to cut back on your spending in a way that you still love your life? I was doing unnecessary shopping. And so cutting back on that helped me pay off my bills a lot faster. And it helped minimize some things in my life. It helped me declutter my life and my finances. But yeah, I'm not going to tell y'all to cut down everything. If you like a streaming service, if your favorite thing to do is lay on the couch and watch Netflix, why would I cut Netflix? Why would I cut Netflix? My favorite thing to do is lay on the couch and watch Netflix. Maybe I'd try to share a password with someone, right? In the before times, not the now times. But I'm not telling you to cut out your favorite things. I'm telling you to cut out the things that don't bring long-term joy, that don't bring like, yes, this was worth it. You'll figure it out. You know what those things are. Okay. Can you make some additional money? Let's pause for a second for Javon. I used to order things online, and by the time the boxes arrived, I couldn't remember what they were until I opened them. Emotional spending. Yes. I used to put some things on like auto purchase on Amazon, and it was like every 2 months or every 3 months, send me one of these. By the time it came, every time it came, I'd be like, I don't want that. I didn't even finish the last one. So I'd have to cancel it. Even if I didn't cancel it in time, it would come anyway. All those subscription services, the hair care, but this is not shade to the company itself. This is shade to me. I used to subscribe to Crowbox, which if you don't know, it's my Leak Teal's company, and they send out a monthly box of hair supplies. But like a lot of times, it is a full-size shampoo and conditioner. I'm not using a full-size or some kind of hair product, a full-size. And that was the benefit of it. Like you got full-size hair products for a fraction of the price. I can't use a full-size shampoo and conditioner every month. So what I ended up with was stuff I didn't need being stockpiled underneath my sink until there was just too much of it to do anything with. Because I didn't cancel the subscription service because what could be coming next month could be really interesting. And it's a great deal. Look at this great deal. Ooh. But if I'm not using it, it's not a deal at all. If it's just stockpiled underneath the sink because it's so much, it's not a deal. I am not using it. So some of you guys have subscription services just like that. You're not using it. I used to do Nature Box as well. And one time I looked at my cabinet and I had like 12 bags of them pineapple rings and those dried peach strips. Perhaps it's time for me to cancel or put it on pause. Because baby, I'm not keeping up with the speed in which I'm getting things. And I'm not canceling them. So I don't need them, right? I'm spending just to spend. I don't even notice this money is going because it's auto. I'm auto enrolled and they're auto charging. And I have more than I could ever use. When is enough enough? When is enough enough? But what I was going to get to was making more money. I don't want to tell y'all to side hustle your lives away. I want you to be as easy going as possible in your lives. But is there something in your house you don't like that you could sell? Unlike maybe out of your closet on one of them something, them sell your own clothes services, right? Mail it off to somebody, you're done. Maybe on eBay. Are we still using eBay to buy things? There's got to be something in your house you can sell on eBay, right? And I'm not saying make a business out of it. I'm saying declutter and make money at the same time. And put that money towards your debt. This is another step we haven't talked about. Creating a budget. Creating a budget, but start with your repayment amounts at the top of your budget. And then figure out how much money you have left over. So figure out all of your minimum payments for everything. Add those up and let that be the first item in your budget. If I just pay the minimum on everything, what is the total amount I need to pay each month? Let that be the first step in your budget. Anything else from your paycheck that isn't taken out already, like, any 401k investments, any healthcare, whatever, it goes from your paycheck. Once you get your net pay, put aside the debt money first, the money that goes to your debt, and then figure out how much money you have to spend. Right? So more math. How much more money do you have in the month? And is there a way to get any more money out of your budget for that first step that we're snowballing or avalanching? Or the one that we feel real emotional about? Is there a way to get more money out and pay it down? Is there? Poshmark. I know one of y'all knew. Plus something. Poshmark, yes. Sell something on Poshmark. Some shoes you ain't used in a while. Yes. Minimum takes like 30 years to pay off. And they tell you on your credit card statements how long it will take to pay off. Minimum takes forever to pay off. But when you're just starting out and everybody wants money from you, don't put all the money towards one debt and leave the rest of them out there. Right? Pay all the money to the debts that are going to charge you late fees, that are going to charge you additional fees. We haven't talked about healthcare debt, but y'all do what you do. I was going to say something that might come back to bite me, but call them and negotiate. You don't owe them that money. They charge you $18 for an Advil. Call them and be like, will you take 1/10? If not, you're not getting paid. I ain't got it. What I have is this. Call them. Them hospitals are making up numbers anyway. I saw on Twitter the other day, someone got charged for circumcision for their baby, but their baby was a girl. Like right there on the same document with the bill. You've indicated I have a girl child who does not have any boy child parts. But somehow, if I didn't go through all of these line items, I would have missed that y'all charged me for a circumcision. Go through the line items. Healthcare bills? Y'all know what to do. You know it. Sometimes I have no idea that I'm paying for something until I go through a bank statement or all my credit card statements. And I have, especially for my business, I've got a lot of recurring monthly payments. And every time I get charged, I'm like, why would I sign up for this? I'm like, oh yes, it's my course platform. It's my course platform, so I need it to make money. But is there a better way? Is there a cheaper way? Every time. But if I don't, because it charges automatically, if I don't pay attention, I don't notice what's going on. Y'all know what to do with your medical debt. All right. Let me get back to my list. Okay. Nimone, I saw something on Twitter about an MBA professional who was sending money to his mom, and his financial advisor told him to stop instead of investing his money better. Okay, so this is why I say it's emotional, right? If your money is growing in some investments, say you invest in real estate and your money's growing and you like that. But in your heart, you're like, I want to give a couple G's to my mom each month. I want to give 10 grand to her mom each month because I love her. She's done everything for me. That's my girl. You're not going to feel good about the money growing in the investment because you're not doing the thing that is on your heart with your money. A financial advisor doesn't know what's on your heart. And that's where we come to logic versus emotions. If your emotions won't let you sleep at night because you're not giving your mama no money, figure something out. I sleep just fine like that. But some of y'all aren't going to, right? You get some change, your mama gets some change. Your financial advisor is going to tell you that's not logical. But we're not working with pure logic. We're not. We can't. We're not those people. Don't do it. Do what you have to do, regardless of what your financial advisor says. Like in that situation, what I would want my financial advisor to do is be like, okay, you want to give your mom money each month. Let's set up a certain amount and then let's deal with the rest of the money. That's what I want from a financial advisor, not a financial advisor telling me, don't give your mama no money. The financial advisor who told me everybody, even though I was like, I'm very, very uncomfortable with debt, who was like, don't worry about your student loan debt. Nobody ever pays it off. No one ever plans on paying it off. It's just not a thing. I wish she wasn't in my ear saying that. She was like, instead, invest with me. And I did, like a sucker. Some financial advisors will have your best interest at heart, but if they're not taking into account your financial triggers emotionally, perhaps you're not in tune enough with you to be your financial advisor. Lady C. Rich says, I dislike when family members expect you to give them something, especially family living off stars. I don't care. And what I mean is that I have no idea what their financial relationship has been in the past before this person became a star, right? So like, if I'm your cousin and I gave you half of my paycheck every month so you could get in the studio to record your album, when you would get a number one hit, where's my Lambo, right? I'm gonna be there like, yes, girl. Yeah, congratulations. Thank you for the keys. You know what I mean? Like, I think that but it's also like us projecting what we see on other people because I don't know what their relationship is. I don't care. But I think that there should be a desire within the person whose money it is to give the person not a feeling of should, right? Not an external feeling of I feel like I need to give this person money and it's an external pressure. Like if your mama comes to you and been like, I raised you, so you need to give me blah, 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 feel free to ignore her. But if in your heart, you're like, I got some money, she got some money, do that. External pressure for anything is not my jam. Okay, so we're coming up with a debt reduction fee. A debt reduction plan, sorry. We're going to lower our bills however we can in a way that still allows for joy in our life. And we're going to find money. And if we don't have time, we're going to do things to get money. If we don't have time for a side hustle, we're not going to get ourselves a side hustle. We're going to do the easy things. We're going to sell some books. We're going to, I don't know, one of you has a greenhouse and grows aloe and sells it? Right? Like, yes. Do the easy thing you can do to make the money. If there's no easy thing to do to make the money, just see if you can spend less money. I'm not going to tell you to do a complicated, crazy thing to make money and now you're working 20 extra hours a week on top of the 60 you're working at your main job, because that doesn't sound fun. I want a life that brings you joy. I want you to have a life that brings you joy. And in order to do that, we need to know what our limits are. All right. So we found more money. Side hustle, selling things, whatever it is. Lower our bills by not spending money on things we don't need. We're going to creating a budget and put all the additional money we can scrape up into the debt we're paying right now. Everything else gets the minimum payment until we get to that debt. If I haven't explained snowball or avalanche good enough for you today, Google it. You'll see 1,000 videos, 1,000, pieces of content about it. I learned about the debt snowball from Dave Ramsey, who I pay absolutely no attention to anymore. But when I was getting out of debt, I was going out of debt about 20 years ago, about a little less, maybe 15. The concepts made sense. The way he spoke to people wasn't as bad as it is now. It wasn't as terrible as it is now. But when I try not to listen to him now, but when I do, I'm like, how are you talking to your audience so crazy? Why are you so disrespectful to these humans? I remember being in the car with my mom once, and I was listening to him, and I was like, is that a racism? I think I heard a racism. And that's when I was like, I got to put him down. Like, it got me to a certain point, but we can't go anymore. And so I would never say, especially now, I would never say start there. But start with someone who's talking about a debt snowball or debt avalanche. The way they explain it will probably be the same way Dave Ramsey explains it. And hopefully you'll avoid the racism and classism and other isms that go along with him. Okay. All right. On everything I did, the last thing I did that really helped me in paying off my debt, and I think can help you too, is for a couple of my bills, I paid the minimum amount multiple times a month. Right? So like when I had extra money, right? I would try to make sure that like I paid when I could just pay the minimum on credit cards. This is all I had the minimum for everything. That first paying off that first thing, just at the minimum. I was like, what if I can come up with enough money to pay just the minimum, but pay it twice a month? When I got to my house and I was making 3 mortgage payments a month, couldn't tell me nothing. What would you say? What would you say? By the time I had gone to my house and my debt repayment amount for the bill I'm working on each time, the debt repayment amount gets bigger because you're getting the amount you were paying before plus the minimum on this new bill, right? It's getting bigger because you paid off these other bills and you have not charged on them again. You haven't created new debt. So you've paid off the old bills. You're more aggressively paying off this bill. When I got to my house, I was making 3 mortgage payments a month. Bank of America was like, we would appreciate it if you didn't do this. Okay. But what will you do if I do it? Oh, you just going to credit my account? You're going to apply it appropriately to my account? Okay. Whenever I can, every time I remember to pay myself, it's on my calendar. I pay off my credit card bill. So it's twice a month. I pay off my credit card bill in full when I have it. If not, it's at least the minimum and a plan. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to transfer money over before I have the money in this account to pay it off. After my jaunt through my 2-month vacation of not doing any work and just spending money, my credit card bills totaled in the 5 figures. Low-ish 5. But I saw it and I was like, oh, I need to transfer some money. And paid it. So Lady Roshida, if you weren't here in the beginning, yes, I was making 3 payments, but my payments were under $700 a month when I bought a house, because I bought a house on sale. Multiple times, I paid the minimum multiple times a month. Y'all not gonna catch me slipping. So even if I forget, y'all already had your money. Set it up on autopay. I set it up on autopay in my bank, and would be like, when I got paid twice a month, I'd be like, every Friday, pay them $250 every Friday. So if the minimum is $250, you get in that was for credit cards. You get in your minimum twice a month. You're not going to catch me slipping. Not on this debt repayment plan. You're not catching me slipping. The Budget Mom channel is pretty good. I understand her way better than Dave Ramsey. I don't know the Budget Mom. I'll go look that up. I'm going to say where Dave was any day of the year is none of my business. But I know that we are not walking down the same side of the aisle. Okay. And so I think this is one of the underlying points I want to make in this entire conversation is don't take financial advice from people you wouldn't want to have a meal with. If you feel like you're talking to them about financial advice and you feel like they don't actually care about me, the way they're talking to me shows me that I'm just a number, or they don't care about me, or I really don't like this person, clock out, check out. The relationship is over. Over. Also, pay attention to your financial planner. I say this as someone who had a family member who was scammed by their financial planner. I say this as someone who knew their family member was getting scammed and told the family member, and they were like, no, I trust him. And now your money's gone. And now there are investigations, but you're not getting that money back. Now the SEC is involved. But you're not getting your money back. Okay. So investigate this person. They lose their license. Where's your money? I told you they were scamming. So yes, I've had a financial planner who just gave what was inherently on its face bad advice, but I thought because they were the professional, they knew more than I did. I've also seen financial planners scam people. Financial planners at reputable companies scam people. Pay attention to if you are not in control of all your money, or you're taking advice from other people, pay attention to what those decisions you're making are. Because It's a lot of bad ones. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. All right. It wasn't a Ponzi scheme. They got, they made money every time there was a transaction on the account, and every month there were transactions that didn't need to be transacted. Something was always being traded, and I was like, they're doing this to get fees from you. I can tell they're doing this to get fees from you. And by the time the company they worked for found out, by the time I was able to do something about it, that person had passed away. Because while they were alive, I couldn't do anything. They wouldn't listen to me. I trust him. And I'm like, he's just taking I'm looking at your accounts and I know he's just taking your money. Okay. By the time that person passed away, and it was like, okay, well, look at these trades. I went to the company that look at these trades. And they were like, hey, let's look at what else this person is doing. Apparently they were doing more things with more people. And that's how investigations began. But yeah, what they were doing wasn't technically illegal. So they didn't end up, you know what I mean? Like they didn't end up in jail. They were just making transactions for the that were not in the best interest of the consumer. They were in the best interest of the financial planner making money from that transaction. Do we have a win? We have a win. I'm glad y'all really like this. Come visit me on my other channel, Roshida Dowe, where we talk about, that's not going to do that. Here we go. Where we'll talk more about money. Yay. At the end of 2024, end of next year, you can be out of debt. Do that. I'm going to put this back up again. Boom, 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 boom. Subscribe to my other channel. We'll talk about money. We'll talk more about debt. I feel like maybe this is the conversation that we can do a little bit more work on, and more specific. I am supposed to be on a bus. I'm supposed to be leaving here on a bus in about an hour, so I get to go soon. Going to San Miguel. If any of my San Miguel peeps are out there, I'll be there until Wednesday. Hit me up. Boop, 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 boop. Message me somewhere. We're doing an Exodus get together out there, a meetup, a little Exodus meetup in San Miguel. So I hope to see you there. I hope you, if you're out there, I see you. Reblue Room mentioned Ramit Sethi's How to Be Rich. I actually I'm friends with his sister. So I've known him more of, I read his book once. He has a book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And I read it a long time ago. And then his sister was like, that's my brother. And I was like, oh, so every time he comes up, it feels weird. Cause oh, he's just her brother. Right. And I've known her for 20 years. I haven't watched the show yet, but I hear good things about it. But I'm going to say the same thing. If you watch his show and his advice resonates with you and you're like, yes, this feels good inside, go read his book. Subscribe to him in public platforms, like where he is on social media. If you watch his channel, if you watch the show and it doesn't feel good, don't, right? Same thing for any advice you take from anyone else. If it feels like I don't like the way the person speaks to me, I don't like the way they speak to other people, this is not for me, there's 1,000 people out there you can get advice from, financial advice from. And a lot of it is good. It's just different perspectives and different ways to view things. If you do not try to follow something that doesn't align with your spirit. Now, if you have a spirit of, I never plan on paying anybody a penny. I mean, you can do stuff that aligns with that, but are you limiting what you could do with a little more financial freedom, right? I'm never going to get out of debt. I have no plans on ever doing anything to help me get out of debt. Does not feel free to me financially. Now that might feel free to you financially, right? Maybe that's just a different kind of freedom. Follow the advice that aligns with your spirit. Yes. I feel like we've done this today. All right, let's go through the steps again. We're going to do the math. We're going to figure out how much you owe. As part of figuring out how much you owe, you're going to write down somewhere on a tracker that you update at an interval that feels comfortable for you. I would say definitely no less frequently than once a month. At least once a month, you should be updating. And I like a physical tracker as opposed to like opening an app that just shows me, because there's no work involved with that and I can ignore it. When I actually have to go into each account and see what the balance is and write it down. Also, when I go in, I can check and be like, where'd these numbers come from? What's happening? If I just go on Mint or another aggregator, I don't actually see where the numbers are coming from. So write it down. Write down the name of the debt. Write down the type of debt. Is it credit card? Is it student loan? What's the balance? What's the interest rate? What are the payment terms? Is it once a month? What's the minimum? Write all that stuff down each month. And then like, if it changes, change it each month. If your balance has changed, pay attention to that. If your balance has gone up. Student loan ladies, we're used to that. Why I keep giving y'all money and the balance never gets smaller? What kind of devilish shit is this? What is it? What is it that, what? Why is the number always larger? If the number is larger and it's not something like a student loan where you know why it's always larger, because your money is not going to principal, it's only going towards interest. Pay attention. Have you charged more, or are you paying more interest than you expect and you're not covering the interest? In that case, it's time to do something about that, right? Figure out which accounts have emotional feelings about, which ones aren't just neutral, which ones you can't just logic away, and put the ones that you feel your heartstring are pulling you to pay off first. Put those first. The ones your heartstrings are telling you to pay off last, pay those off last, right? Oh yeah, Francis said hit the like button. Hit the like button, y'all. Hit the like button. Figure out a debt reduction plan that works for you. Is it snowball? Is it avalanche? Is it consolidation? It's probably not consolidation. It's probably not. Stop all future debt. I'm counting it, but I'm counting. Stop all future debt. I don't know what number that is. Let's call it 5. What are you going to do to stop your revolving debt like credit card debt? What are you going to do to cut that out so that once you pay it off, you're not getting more debt, right? What are the steps you can take? You know your life. I can't tell you the steps to take. Like, I can't tell Stephanie to stop ordering restaurant delivery, right? Like, as a person who talks to you on the internet about what your life is, I don't know your life enough to tell you what you should cut out and what you should not cut out. You need to know that yourself. If I told Stephanie to cut out restaurant delivery, she'd be like, oh, that's a terrible financial advisor. She would leave like, absolutely not. Let me go get my coffee delivered, right? Like because she talks about this enough. It's something she does and something she likes doing. She's not going to cook. She wants her to taste good now and she wants somebody else to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't let someone tell you the key to your happiness, the key to your future happiness is being happy today. That's not it. That's not it. Because you might not have it tomorrow. So go ahead and be happy today. Just cut out the bullshit. Cut out the stuff you don't need. What are we congratulating Astrid for? Let me see. Ooh, Astrid will be debt-free in 4 months. Not counting student loans. Yes. We love it. Love that. Congratulations, Astrid. Okay, so we're figuring out a debt reduction plan. We're finding more money by selling things we don't need to get them out of our house, all that stuff. We're going to lower our bills however we can. Like telling the hospital, those numbers are ridiculous. What's the real number? I got this much money. I have $13. You want this, or you want to still bill me for $13,000? Create a new budget for yourself that puts your debt repayment plan first. A lot of people will tell you to pay yourself first or put something in savings first. I think you should have an emergency fund of some amount. And so I'm not telling you to pay off all your debts before you have an emergency fund, because you might have an emergency while you're paying off debt. Some of us I paid off debt for like 10 years. I had some emergencies. My roof went bye-bye. And my insurance company was like, oh, that's too bad. You were covered for rain, not wind. And when it rained, it was windy. So that's a you problem, not a me problem. I said, baby, what? They were like, no, it rained, yes. But the wind was also blowing when it rained. And therefore, your roof is not covered. I'm going to tell you. Like, when companies are on that BS and like, you know it, but you don't know how to figure it out. We had that conversation. About 3 weeks to a month later, I heard a clunk outside my house. Just a clunk. I'm on the couch. I'm on the couch. I stay on the couch. I got up. I walked outside. There's a man on my roof. I was like, WTF, sir? Why are you on my roof? And he came down. He was like, oh, I'm from the insurance company. Blah, 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 blah. We're going to pay for your roof. You declined. You declined my insurance claim. There was no appeal process. It was just like, that's it. So I couldn't appeal. And all of a sudden, another man came out without me doing anything. And y'all gonna pay for the roof? What law were y'all breaking and who caught you? Who person in what department was like, absolutely not, y'all need to go fix that? And I know this wasn't just a me thing. I know y'all went back in your files and was like, everybody, we declined for this thing, which may have been this reason for declining it, or in this neighborhood. I told y'all I was hood adjacent. Or in this neighborhood, all them on the fence claims in this neighborhood, whatever it was, where someone said, y'all not acting. Someone in the company said, y'all not acting right. And y'all sent out another man to come look at my roof. And all of a sudden, here's thousands and thousands of dollars for a new roof. When before you said, and that's not our problem. And you're not getting nothing from us. I said, oh, y'all playing games. And somebody found y'all. Somebody in the company was like, I seen what y'all been doing. As someone who worked in corporate America, I'm going to tell y'all, somebody in the company said, oh, no, we got to fix that. We got to fix that. I said, oh, I didn't do nothing, and now there's new roof money? I know what happened. There was a meeting with someone, and someone said, oh, y'all gonna get us caught up declining. For whatever their no one will notice if we do this thing, somebody in the company noticed. I got a new roof. But yes, when I had the roof emergency, and I was like, I got to pay for this. I was on my own until like a month later. I had a family member negotiate a hospital bill from $90,000 to $5,000. If I ever get a U.S. hospital bill again, I'm definitely going to be like, let's talk. Let's talk. Because I'm not paying that. Let's talk about this. Every single time I get a bill from now on. Let's talk about this. Because this ain't the number. This ain't the number I'm paying. Let somebody else subsidize your healthcare costs, not me. All right. So we're creating a budget. We're cutting out money. If you don't have an emergency fund, and we're not going to talk about this in depth today because we're already way over what I thought we were going to do. But create a budget that allows you to save for an emergency fund, have a certain amount of money that feels comfortable to you, and then go whole hog on paying off your debt reduction. Paying off your debt. Paying off your debt. Do it. Right? Because nothing feels like freedom as not having, for me personally, not owing anybody any money. Nobody can come on my door and take anything from me. Nobody can come to my door and take anything from me. And when people could come to my door and take things from me, I felt differently about life. I felt differently. Now that I'm like, it's all mine. I don't care what Joe does. That's his business. Today, if I had student loan debt today, I would not be paying it off. I would be waiting to see. Handle that, right? And then I would be paying them the absolute minimums. I would probably be doing, when I first took a career break, if I still had student loan debt, I probably would have gone to a student loan debt repayment plan that was income based because I had no income. So what are we going to do? When I first took my break, I have $0 coming in. So what percentage of $0 would you want? What is it? What are we going to do? I would definitely move to a debt repayment plan that was based on my income. So I'm not saying you can't move abroad with debt. I'm saying that I want you to have a debt repayment plan that you go like hard on before you move abroad, and one that you can manage when you move abroad. Because the finances you have when you move abroad, the financial situation of a location when you move abroad may not be that financial situation in that location 2 years later, right? The people who moved to Merida because it was super, super cheap are seeing it ain't as cheap as they thought it was, right? Like you could get Colby, when I talked to her in 2000, had a 1-bedroom for like $300 or $400. I don't think you're getting that now in Merida. Maybe, but not in the location she was in. Maybe in the outskirts somewhere, not in the location she was in. Right? Like things change. Prices go up. Your money will become less valuable. You need to be financially prepared to move abroad, because one of the downsides of being abroad in a lot of countries is you don't have a safety net. There are ways in the US that you can have a government provided safety net. It's not safe, right? The ways in which the government can help you, whether that's food stamps, Section 8, whatever it is, those aren't safe in the sense that they're not reliable. The work you have to do to get them, they're going to make you jump through 17 hoops, right, to get it. It's not reliable. It's not guaranteed. They can take back any kind of government assistance at any time. But there is, in some respect, a safety net. You're not finding that in a lot of other countries. In a lot of other countries, you don't need it, right? Because the pay that the people get is commensurate to a life that is worth living, a life that your pay can pay all your bills. And the US isn't designed, the economy of the US is not designed for each of us to have a basic income that pays us enough to live in a manner where we feel respected and we feel joy. Other countries, a lot of other countries, don't worry about like safety nets because everybody's safe. Everybody's safe. And then there are other countries that have no safety net. And y'all gonna go to those countries. Y'all not gonna do it because y'all listen to me. I know this. Some people, like that man at Starbucks today, and his way of getting money is scamming and lying to people. You're a white man in Mexico from America trying to scam me out of dollars? Y'all had too many privileges to come here and be doing this. I'm so sorry. You had too many privileges in your life, inherent privileges to come here. And now you're trying to cuss out a black lady for not giving you cash? I could be here all day. What are we doing? Sir, get out my face. Take your bad decision-making ass on, because absolutely there's no way you should be here begging. So I know y'all not going to be out here begging at Starbucks. Not even begging, lying. Y'all not going to be out here lying at Starbucks. Lying to me like I'm a new girl. $20 to get to the airport. The police tried to rob me. Yes, I mean, that was a white man. A white man from the US in Mexico trying to run game on me. and touching me, which truly, he could have been anybody. Don't touch me. Absolutely. You know, when you're in a club, like back in the day when we used to be in club and guys used to talk to us in clubs, it doesn't happen anymore, right? I don't know what happened. And they would like be like, oh, let me talk to you real quick. And then they would touch you. I'm one of those, like, you ain't got to touch me. You ain't got to touch me to talk to me. Please. Your hand, I don't hear better when your hand is on my body. So once the man went to put his arm on, my ears don't work better when your hand is on my body. It does not turn it on. No, there's no on off button for you to touch. If you need to talk to me, you can talk to me with your hands in your pockets. We can keep our hands to ourselves. I swear, you good. The train. I can from where I am, I can get to the airport for 25 cents on the train. $1 if I want to take a bus and a train. From where I saw that man this morning. Yes, like a 15-minute walk and a bus, but I just did. I just walked past the way to get on the train. And he did not appear to have any problems walking when he was walking away and cussing me out. When that man meant to touch me, I was like, oh, there's nothing, like literally there's nothing you could say. That's when I stopped being helpful. He first was like, oh, hey, do you understand English? I said, yes. And then he went to touch my arm. He's like, oh, good, because nobody else does. Nobody understands me. And he went to touch me. And I was like, oh, whatever you're saying is gone now. Whatever you're saying, done. Absolutely. Okay, anyhow. We've talked. Y'all not going to be at Starbucks trying to hustle people because you're going to come up with a plan before you move abroad, before you take your career break. You're going traveling. Leaving America feels awesome. It feels more awesome the less ties you have. And debt is always going to be a tie, right? Debt is always going to be a financial tie, unless you decide it's not. But if you decide, I moved out of America, so I'm never paying that American debt, know that you might have future problems, right? Depending on what the debt is, you might have some passport problems in the future. You might have some can't come back in the country and do anything because your credit is trash problems. Know that saying I'm not going to pay anything ever is not the magic button people think it is, or people act like it is. If you get advice, if you're a financial planner, or if you talk to someone, not your financial planner, people on the internet being like, this is how you can never pay any debt again, move carefully, move cautiously. Do I still have to pay American taxes? Yes and no. Florida is my state of residence, and so I don't pay state taxes, state income taxes. I give the government a little something every year, except for this year when I haven't done anything. I'm out of the US, and my primary home is Mexico. So like my taxes are a little harder to finesse, but it's very, very hard to pay the US government nothing, right? Like, and I want you guys to think about this. The US government wants as much money. It's one of the few countries in the world that says, no matter where you are, we want our money. No matter where you're making money, the US government's pretty much like, if you ever step foot in America, we want all your money for the rest of your life, right? That's pretty much how they are. And I said earlier, don't try to finesse the finesser, right? Very few times do you hear people who win at taxes versus the US government. Very few times. And their version of winning may look different than your version of winning. And so I go to my accountant every year and I'm like, tell me what these numbers are. I paid taxes last year. If I had done anything in a timely manner, I would have already paid taxes again for this year. I paid them. I did not file them. Because they're not going to get me with any late fees. So I paid them the safe harbor amount. So yes, the government wants their money every year, no matter where you live. They do not care. All right. I'm gonna get out of here because I got an hour and 15 minutes before I need to leave here, I think. My friend doesn't even know when I'm coming. I didn't tell her when I was coming. I was like, I'll be here on Sunday. And so I hope you're leaving here with a better idea about like how you want to tackle your debt moving forward. I don't want you to leave here like Roshida said. I want you to leave here like, I thought about this, and this is what makes sense for me, right? So I thought about this, and this is what makes sense for me is what I want for you. This is a debt reduction plan that makes sense for me. And maybe it means watching some more videos of some other people and figuring out, okay, in this area, what is the advice that resonates with me? And for this specific thing, do that. Like, do your work, do your homework, but like come up with a debt reduction plan and know if you follow this plan, how long it's going to take you to get out of debt. We've already seen a couple months from people, a couple months, end of next year. This could be you too. It may not be next year, but at least know when it can be, right? When you look at the numbers, a lot of us, the numbers are worse in our mind than they are on paper. They're worse in our mind. So like get it on paper and see what it is. I'm going to get out of here. The last question I'm going to address is by Rhonda. Would I consider purchasing property in Mexico? No, I don't want to be a property owner again. I don't. All right, plan, guys. Make your plan. Execute your plan. Take care of it. Debt reduction plans. I believe in y'all. I'm about to go eat and then pack and then get on a bus for my 4-hour tour. I'm getting on the ETN bus. I'm giving away way too much information. I don't want to give away this much information online, but every time I look at ETN, it's one of the luxury bus companies. It's a nice service. One of the luxury bus companies in this area. Every time I look at it and look at how long it tells me it's going to take to get from here to San Miguel, I'm like, you're lying. There's another company, Primera Plus, and they are right 9/10 of the time. They'd be on the money. I arrive when I'm going to arrive. I look at ETN and I'm like, you are lying to me about the amount of time. Door to door, that's a lie. Door to door, that is a damn lie. Bus station to bus station, there's absolutely no way it's going to take that small amount of time. So what is my arrival time today? I don't know, because the bus, I know they're lying to me. Every single time I'm gonna tell y'all, this is random, it's a rant. Every single time I look at ETN about how long it's going to take to get from one place to the next, I'm like, your mother's a liar. Your daddy don't like you. So I know I'm going to get on the bus and I'm just going to be like, I get there when I get there. Because this arrival time is not right. The amount of time you're telling me it takes to get there is absolutely incorrect. And I know this because I've taken this bus trip so many times. Good luck, y'all. I was like, so I'll be on a bus. I don't know how long. Y'all have great weekends. Do the math. Okay, I'm done yelling now. Love y'all. Talk to you later. Bye. Subscribe to the other channel. Subscribe to everything.